Nate's come out with another awesome tool for the swimming community. It's called Swimnerd Live, and it allows the data and times from your actual scoreboard to be broadcast and viewed in real time on any smart TV, phone, or other device. It has all the information you're looking for: event, heat, lane, name of swimmer, times and places. One click on any device and they're watching your swim meet live in real time. Go to swimpractice.com to learn more. All right, Barry Prime, welcome to the podcast, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Brett. And yourself?
Good to see you again, mate. It's been a few years.
Yeah, it has indeed. Yeah, I think the last time I saw you was at a coaching conference on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's
right.
You
were walking along the street with Ashley Callis.
Oh, right, yeah. I'm trying to get him on the podcast too.
Too bad.
Mate, it's been a while. You've known me for a long time, since I was a young pup, which means I've known you for a long time too. So we go way back, eh?
Yeah, since the mid-90s, I think.
Yeah.
I came to Australia in 93, so probably would have bumped into you around about that time.
Yeah.
To 95, somewhere around there anyway.
What are you doing these days?
I work with Swimming Queensland in a coach and club development role. So I travel around Queensland interacting and working with the coaches, and then putting on clinics and camps and in a mentoring capacity, really. And then also within Brisbane too.
That's interesting. I want to talk about that, because part of what I want to do with the podcast is coaches education. So in terms of your specific role, what are the things you hit on when you're going out to do coaches mentoring?
Basically, I observe and listen. Yeah. And it's a matter of building up the relationship first. That there was no book for me to look at, so I just found that it's building up the relationships with the coaches so that they feel confident enough to open up to you. A bit like what you're doing here. You know, You've studied psychology. That's not my expertise, but people need to feel comfortable with you to open up. So I try not to force my opinions on people, but if they ask for my opinion, then I'll tell them straight.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the things you're finding that coaches need help with, or coaches need the mentoring with?
I think self-belief.
Right.
And that's self-belief is big. You know, you need it if you're competing in lane 4, you need it in all types of competitions, and the coaches need self-belief in themselves and self-confidence that they can do a good job. So my style is to try and encourage them, really, and in a positive way, but provide constructive criticism too.
Yeah.
But also I find swimming technique, that's key too. And I feel that most people can actually talk it very, very well. And then you actually see what's happening in the pool, and you see lots of areas where things can actually improve.
What's your opinion on why Queensland has always been so strong? Why are they so good?
That's interesting. When I was at the Institute, I always felt, wow, Queensland, great. You know, I always had that sort of impression of it, and particularly Brisbane as well. And but then I was fortunate enough to come and work here in 2015, which was perfect for me. And the outdoor lifestyle, being close to the coast generally, there's a rawness about it. It's not rounded off at the edges yet, and it's not too refined. And because of the outdoor lifestyle, I feel that there's something about the psychology here as well. It's raw and it's competitive too. That puts it in a crude nutshell, I feel.
Is learning to swim mandatory for kids in Queensland?
No, but most schools have swimming pools, particularly in Brisbane.
Right.
And obviously being close to the ocean, and most people learn to swim at a very early age. And many people have their own backyard pools too. Right. And those people that live out in the country live on farms, they often have dams. So their children often learn to swim in dams, but they need to be careful, of course.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a hotbed, Queensland of talent. It's like year after year, the talent that comes out of Queensland is just quite remarkable.
Yeah, plus the sort of role that I've been doing, it's been going back since the 90s when I was here. I think it was Scott Volkers and Michael Bowl. They are involved doing coach education and going out visiting programs, country programs, and putting on clinics and that. So way back since then. So the type of activity I'm doing now, along with Drew McGregor that heads the program up, and Brant Best, you would know Brant Best.
Right.
Yeah, so this type of activity has been going on a long time now. And so I think that plays an important role, working with the coaches, and they feel confident with us. And just recently we've had the national age groups and national championships, and we get a lot of thanks from them. They say, really appreciate what you're doing. You assist us with having, self-belief in ourselves, and that. We've still got a long way to go, but that's the sort of feedback that we get.
Well, it seems like they're well supported all around in Queensland too. So apart from just the kind of the mentorship that you're providing, it seems to me like there are other avenues where coaches can, access resources. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what we are really. It's I'm a resource. So they come to me if they want to know anything about swimming. And if I don't know the answer, then I'll know where to find the answer because of my background. And then also because I know most of the people involved in swimming in various areas, so I can provide them with the links that they actually need, or the direct information.
And who funds all this? Where does all this money come from to fund Queensland swimming?
Swimming Queensland itself, they do get some funding for TID camps from the Queensland Academy of Sport. But otherwise it comes from Swimming Queensland. I think there may be some sort of small funding from Swimming Australia as well. I must admit, I don't have to get involved with the funding. Somebody else deals with all that. I don't even know the figures that are actually involved. And also some of the regions actually make a contribution as well.
Right.
So
right.
that we go out there and support the regions and visit the programs and put on various clinics and for them.
So a lot of state funding too. I mean, it's amazing that it's just so sustainable like that. And
but it's all it's quite simple too what we do, and then we don't really have to report to many committees. I work directly with regional presidents, so it doesn't get bogged down in committees, and we can respond very, very quickly to the concepts and ideas that we have to put them in place.
Is there pressure involved in your job? Like, is there accountability for you? Like in terms of
yes,
where does that come from?
All right. Well, there's accountability, and the regions want to know how, for their investment, what are they actually getting?
Yeah, right.
So that we do reports for that, but I don't feel pressure like I used to when I was working with elite athletes. It's not that type of pressure.
Yeah.
So I don't have the stresses of the day-to-day coaching and the international competition that the pressures that you have when you're dealing with that situation.
But you'd certainly get that emotional involvement too, wouldn't you?
Yes, no, you do, because once again, you see a talented coach, you see a talented athlete, you want to help them to achieve the best that they can possibly achieve. So I actually enjoy working with the next generation of coaches and athletes.
I was going to say, do you get any pushback? Like, is there some coaches that don't want any help?
So far, no.
Good.
Every program I've been to, they've been absolutely delighted that you've made the effort and turn up to observe them. Yeah. They're eternally grateful. And now I don't know if that's because there's a healthy respect there from both parties, myself and the coaches. Plus, they respect the people that are actually involved, that they're there to help and support and assist, and not to impose their own beliefs on them, you know. So we're there just to support them.
How long do you go into a program for?
I can go and visit a program for an hour, a couple of hours, or I can have a meeting with them, and then that's followed up with phone calls or emails, you know. If I feel that there's information that's useful to the coaches, I will send it out to selected groups, that type of thing.
Do you ever get any interaction with the athletes as well?
Yes, particularly when we do clinics. But once again, it's more interaction with the coaches, and but also try to provide positive encouragement for the athletes. But I don't go in there and then try and coach the athletes. Unless the coach says, "Oh, could you have a look at this athlete and work with them?" Then I will do that.
Well, listen, I'm not critical of the system at all. I think it's amazing. I feel like that, like I said, the talent that comes out of Queensland, the high level of coaching, and you said this program's been around since the 90s. So I just think that Queensland have figured it out, and bringing you in is a master stroke, because you know what you're doing, and you're a great coach, you're a great mentor. So I think having you as a real asset, it was very smart of whoever hired you. But I think
Kevin Hassman, there we are. Kevin Hassman is the chief executive, and he's the person that came up with these concepts.
Yeah.
He didn't want somebody that was going to draw up all the nice plans on paper, and it looks great on paper, but actually doesn't actually function. You know, ours, we have it written down on paper, but we don't need that. We can respond very, very quickly, and it all works in a very practical way. Yeah. And also, the person that employed me, interviewed me, was Stefan Widmar, because he took over the head coach of Swimming Queensland. That was in 2015, but of course he's moved on to Singapore, and Drew McGregor now leads it, and he's doing a great job. Got lots of energy, lots of ideas, lots of energy.
Well, if this is working, it's been working for so long, and you're having incredible results in Queensland, are the other states copying what you're doing? Are the other states doing what you're doing?
Yes, they do similar things. I'm not sure exactly what they do. There's conversations that go on between the states, and Drew sits on the leadership coaches for the country that work with the national head coach. But with respect, I don't think they have the type of experience that we have with myself, Brant, and someone like Drew. Yeah. With the leadership and energy that he actually provides. They have good people doing what they're doing, and I have the utmost respect for them, you know. But I think the camaraderie amongst Queensland coaches is very good. It's extremely competitive, particularly in Brisbane. And now we're finding within the regions as well, the coaches didn't come together as closely. But now with the involvement of us and interacting with them and trying to bring them together on clinics and working closer together all the time and sharing knowledge, then it seems to be working pretty well at the moment anyway.
Well, tell us your story, mate. I never really got to ask you this. You know, when I was back swimming, it was all about me. But now it's
right.
We're going to turn this on you. Tell me about you. You're an Olympian, 72
yes.
Olympian, right?
Yeah. I just come from a small country town, 20,000, outdoor pool, summer only. Played in the pool from 9 till 4, and then just playing tick. Diving off the boards, walked home, had ice cream with the dentist's daughter. That was when I was 11 or 12. And then I started having an interest swimming with the school, and then found a coach and traveled an hour to training each day. And
where was this?
This was in a place called Rushden. Then I traveled to a place called Northampton. Uh-huh. And then because they only had club night once a week, then I had to travel to a different club each day to train just for 45 minutes. And then I was fortunate to have a coach that that motivated me and inspired me. I look forward to seeing him each day. He made me laugh. So if you see me, I like laughing on deck. It puts me at ease. And
so you took some of his traits. What was his name?
Yeah, Neville Cross.
Neville.
He's originally from South Africa. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but great character. Yeah, there's a few of my traits within him. And then I didn't actually start training, morning training, till I was 16. And then at the age of 17, number 1 and 2 in the country declined to go on a pre-Olympic camp. And I said, yes, I'd like to go. And I actually, within that period of time, from doing 8K a day to 14K a day, I improved 10 seconds to make the Olympic team on 200 and 400 medley. Oh, although I started off as a backstroker. So we used to compete at the youth level within Europe, 6 nations against the Netherlands, East Germany, USSR, Sweden, that type of competition.
Why did I always think you're a breaststroker?
Because I came to the Australian Institute of Sport in '93 as a breaststroke coach.
Oh, okay.
I had coached a guy called Nick Gillingham to a medal at the Olympics in '92.
Right.
And he'd equaled and broken the world record on 200 breaststroke. So Don Talbot at the time wanted a breaststroke coach to take over from Terry Gathercole at the Australian Institute of Sport. So I applied for the position, not thinking I would get it, but I did get the job. And I wasn't going to come at all costs, but I thought the opportunity was too good to turn down. So I came for less money, but the best decision I ever made. So I got the opportunity, to work closely with Don and Gennadi Touretski.
We'll get into that.
I Gennadi for 9 years,
Yeah, I want to dig into some of those stories because I'm sure you've got a couple. But in terms of just,
I've got a lot, but I can't tell them all.
We'll tell a couple. Come on, think a couple of good ones.
I can tell a couple.
What about Nick Gillingham? What was it like coaching him? Because he's a name that I remember of just being an incredible swimmer.
Yeah, very professional athlete, and. There was another gentleman that coached him before me, Rick Bailey. He did a great job with him. And then at the end of '88, I moved clubs every 4 years in Great Britain to coincide with the Olympic Games. And I actually left at the top of my game in each club and managed to have Olympians in each of those programs. They didn't all win medals. And then went to the city of Birmingham in 1989. We got 3 on the team, and including 2 Paralympians. And Nick was one. Yeah, he's one of the swimmers that went on and won a bronze medal there. Unfortunately, we were aiming for gold. We didn't get it. I thought, thank God we got silver. And thank God we got bronze. So
was that the year the two Americans won too?
No, that was Mike Barrowman and the Hungarian.
Oh, okay.
The Hungarian came second. Yeah. Okay. Nick went in ranked number 1 in the world at the time. Unfortunately, he carried an injury, but that's life. You deal with that. So yeah. But he got me the job in Australia.
And you came at an incredible time. Like you said, you turn up around the same time that Gennadi Touretski's turn up. So now you're teammates with him.
Yeah. And it was, and that was at the time, '93 as well. Australia, it was announced that they were getting the Olympics, and then, all eyes were focused on Sydney 2000 then. But I actually when I was 13, I used to get all the swimming magazines from the US and Australia. I actually won the Sports Person of the Year at school, and I bought a book at the time, Swimming to Win by Don Talbot. And little did I know that 26 years later, he'd be interviewing me for a job. I was in India on holiday, and he interviewed me for the job and says, right, you got the job. See you in February. So I was very fortunate, but also with Gennadi there as well. At the beginning, Gennadi, I was the only person he could understand because I taught quite slowly compared to other people. and all he could understand from the Australians was like that. And because I spoke slower, he understood me when I spoke, because I'm more from the country area, you know.
Yeah. So what was who was the first part of your group? Who'd you start coaching in Australia?
A guy called Damien Borden, and originally he at the World Short Course he came 5th. I didn't have anybody. Lindley Frame.
Lindley, yeah.
Hers was like if you like, a rescue job. She'd been involved in a car accident, so she came into the institute, and then I started coaching her. And I think, like, you may have been on. Were you on the '95 World Short Course?
Yep.
Yeah. So that may have been the first team we were on the there together. And at that time, I was also coaching Scott Miller.
All right.
And I didn't get anybody on the '96 Olympic team. Unfortunately, my people just missed. But Don kept me on, and then got 4 on the team in 2000. So and then 3 in 2004. So yeah, and then took a guy called Regan Harrison.
Reggie.
And then later on ended up taking people like Adam Pine, a guy called Ray Haas. A whole range of people, really.
All right, well then give us a Don Talbot story, mate. What have you got in terms of Don?
I tell you what, it was great, because I felt I was right in the crux of it all.
You were.
And we used to, it was great working with a group of international coaches, Jim Fowley, Gennadi Touretski, Mark Regan, before him a guy called Bill Nelson. And we used to have the meetings in the office, and my office and another coach's office, Mark Regan, pretty big. And Don is sitting there next to me, and off he's going, and he's swinging his arms around, and I grabbed his arm. I said, Don, stop swinging your arms, otherwise I'm going to end up with a broken nose, And I always got on well with Don, and he challenged me, but I challenged him back. I think he always wanted to see whether you had the self-belief, to challenge him as well. So I was quite fortunate, although I never got the finger in the chest.
No.
Another time, Gennadi was sitting one side of the room and Don's sitting the other, and then Don gets up. I've never heard him swear before. He walks over to Gennadi, points at him. He says, Gennadi, you want to play effing hardball? I'll show you how to play effing hardball. So Don wasn't the guy that swore. Hard taskmaster, but great. I thought he was great. Yeah. And, I used to have to apply for my job every 2 years and managed to stay there for 12 years. And the government paid for me to become a citizen as well. So I'm quite fortunate, really.
Not bad, eh? You got it all. Yeah. That's good. Well, what about Gennadi? What made Gennadi so good?
He's a very intelligent man. Whether you spoke about English, literature, he was good. I wasn't. You spoke about art, he knew everything about art. You spoke about how missiles work, he knew about that. Wow. He was good at mathematics. He was good with the psychology, particularly with psychology, I think, with the athletes. And for all the troubles that he encountered, he got 100% support from his athletes. He was just a brilliant man. He used to, initially, when we had team meetings, myself, Jim Fowley, Mark Regan would stand there and give our few words of wisdom. And because Gennadi couldn't actually speak the language at the time, he used to get out and play his guitar and the harmonica and sing a song, so that, so he was good with music. And you get onto music, he'd know the history of the music, the blues and everything like that. And he particularly loved the blues.
Yeah, it seemed to me like he, like Australia gave him a new lease of life. I'm sure that's kind of how you felt too, right?
Yeah, what me? What
Yeah.
for him or me?
Yeah, both of you
For him,
guys.
for
I mean,
him.
both of you at the same
Yeah,
time. And, you know,
I tell you, before I came to Australia, I used to wear a shirt and tie and a jacket and trousers, and I was traveling 90 miles to work. And then I'd get there, morning training, then I'd go into the office and I'd have to go into the city, up 12 floors into the lift, because I was responsible for 6,000 learn to swim and an advanced coaching scheme. So the head coach, but you had to oversee and manage all that too. But then I came to Australia and I could just wear a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And I must admit, I thought I was on holiday for the first 5 years, not because I was on holiday,
yeah.
but because I was just in an environment that was absolutely fantastic for swimming, with all the sports science support and working with a group of international coaches and working with, Don Talbot and, a team that was aiming to be the best in the world. And in 2001, we actually achieved that on gold medals at the World Championships, which was the proudest moment in Don Talbot's life. The reason I know that is because I went to the press conference and that's exactly what he said. And
I think that's the only time I saw him cry was that moment.
Yeah, and when Grant Hackett, I think, broke the world record in the 1500, I think it was 14:34 at the time, So, as you know, Don used to say there's 3 ways to win a meet, gold medals, total medals, or points. And you know that he'd want to win it on gold medals. And he achieved that in 2001. So we're fortunate to be on the team.
Yeah, a great team to be part of, mate. And it was a great era to be part of, in that build up to Sydney 2000, like you said, some incredible moments for Australian swimming. I want your perspective on this. Why do you think the Institute didn't succeed completely?
Okay, well, that's arguable. We could argue that point. I actually feel.
Well, why did it go away?
No, yeah, okay. I don't know why it went away, because they had a different model. I think at the time also, when I was there, it was like the Institute versus everybody else.
That's what it seemed like,
yeah. Everybody
was gunning for the Institute.
Any chance they got, they tried to pull it down because they got a lot of funding.
Right.
And I think that we also took in a lot of athletes that weren't ranked number 1. Some were, but many of them were ranked number 4 or 5, and we had to try and turn them into number 1 or 2. And I think that kept everybody honest, kept other people honest within the country too. The other thing, I feel that the Institute acted as a catalyst for state institutes to do more for their athletes.
Right.
And they did more for their athletes at the time. And then athletes started staying in their own states. And now the various institutes within each state are providing more and more to their elite athletes. And then the government went on a slightly different model. It was always difficult to get athletes to go into the Institute, but there was never a model that provided the coach, the athlete, with all the support mechanisms in the one spot.
Yeah.
Now, I think they're looking at trying to provide that once again, not necessarily at the Australian Institute of Sport, like they had centres of excellence here. It seems that they rebrand their names constantly. It was centres of excellence, or then it was a high performance centre.
Yeah.
And they had people from the various institutes travel in and support them. I think the future model, while I'm not privy to it, I just hear secondhand that it may be something like they will try to have, some hubs or something like that, where they've got all the support mechanisms in the one spot. And there may be a number of those dotted throughout the nation, which is good.
Right. What do you think the downfall of having the athletes live together is? Because to me, it seemed like there was some negative associated with that, like something wasn't right about it, something wasn't great about it. And I get the feeling even at the Colorado Springs Training Center that was happening there too. There's something about the athletes living together. Did you ever get a sense that the athletes there got complacent?
I'm not sure. Like, here's my view would be, for an athlete that's come into the institute, come in, live there for a while. When you feel you can manage yourself, move out. And you know, when you've got those sort of management skills to look after yourself, cook for yourself, and function like other people may in a normal situation, you know, perhaps some people may have taken it for granted, but hopefully those people were moved on quickly if we felt that they're always reviewed and assessed, and if they weren't up to scratch, then we would move them on, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So and that was overseen by Swimming Australia and ourselves. Although the view of Gennadi, who was the head coach at the time, he would have said, look, easy to kick people out, easy decision to make, but the best athletes in the world are not easy to manage. They're very difficult to manage. So we must find a way, you know, one way for one athlete, another way for other athletes. So he looked on people as individuals, although we supported each other very well as a team too.
Yeah. Mate, I tell you, I was one of those people that had a chip on their shoulder towards the AIS. And like, you know, I could have gone down there.
You just had a chip on your shoulder.
I did. I did. I needed that.
Yeah, of course you did. That's what made you good, you know, like you needed that sort of, you got that sort of edge to you, you know, and that, I mean, that's what I've always felt. We've always got on well, but you obviously needed that from what, I mean, it's not for me to psychoanalyze you as to why that was there. You know, something happened in your life.
Yeah, there's a lot more therapy that goes with that, mate.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
No, I think the best athletes, I'll try and maybe paint everybody with a broad brush here, but, you know, some of the best athletes feel like, you know, things are against them, you know, or they create situations where things are against them, you know. And I always did that, of like, things are against me, I've got to overcome these obstacles, and I'm going to prove people wrong and things like that. So that's all that always brought out the best in me.
All right, that's good. And that's the way you obviously needed to think. I have never felt like that. I've always felt that I was actually very fortunate to be given the opportunities that I've been given, and I almost feel that I've probably never even reached my potential for, I've done all right, but feel that I probably could have done better. Think, wow, what could you have done if you had really tried, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel that, you know, I've been fortunate to be in situations, whether that's in Great Britain, growing up with the best coaches, being in a good swimming program, working with coaches that inspired you, were very knowledgeable. And like, for example, when I was sort of 17, we were training in California, you know, so 17 to 21, we'd go to California, we'd swim at Mission Viejo, even swam at Santa Clara on one occasion with George Haynes. That was just with my club program, because my coach was ambitious there at the time, you know, he wanted lots of, it was good for him to go and gain further knowledge and take his swimmers with him as well. So,
when did you take a step back from the day-to-day coaching?
When I came back from Singapore, I left the AIS. My time was up at the AIS, signed on for a 2-year contract, managed to survive for 12 years, a bit like a soccer coach it is really. So I managed to survive for 12 years. Then they brought in a new crop of coaches, Shannon Rollinson, Vince Raleigh. They had athletes that had, could win medals at the major meets, and then they brought those in. Time for me to move on. I went into clubland for a few years on the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast, and then decided to move to Singapore and worked in Singapore for 6.5 years, and then came back to Australia in 2015. But that was interesting, working in Singapore in another culture.
Were you there when Sergio was there, or
no? Sergio came just after myself.
Right.
I was the head coach at Singapore Sports School. I didn't go there as that originally. And then I was asked to apply for a job. I turned it down. Then I said, if you don't get the right person, come back to me. And then I was there. Yeah. So I went into the Singapore Sports School from the Singapore Swimming Club, and then to work on a particular project with a particular athlete, try and get them to win the Asian Games, which they did. And then, 2015, I came back to Australia. And then this position came up with Swimming Queensland, and took it on, and thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing, particularly at this stage of my life now too.
Yeah. What's your take on Australian swimming right now? I mean, you were there, like we talked about, at the peak, 2000, 2001, when it's booming. What has happened to it? I mean, I've been out of it, so I don't really know. I don't have a strong opinion either way, but obviously people have said it's not as strong as it used to be. There's fragments of kids that are doing really well, but like team wise, where's it gone wrong?
I can't say that, because I haven't been involved with the national team for some time myself. But having said that, what was it? They had Don, then they had Greg Hodge, then they had Tomo. And I mean, they even said that Beijing was a failure. They came away with 6 gold medals there. So that's not bad for Australia, really, at the time. Then they had Yakko, and Yakko had a different approach. Australia's style previous to that is, I wouldn't say dictatorial, but similar type of style. Yakko's was more sort of swimmer responsibility and stuff like that, which is possibly how he worked with the Netherlands. And also national event camps didn't go ahead until I think 2 years ago. They were reintroduced, and I felt that they've always played a major role for Australian athletes, bringing the athletes in for national event camps, which is great for the coaches to come together as well.
Explain to the audience what those are, what they look like.
Okay, well, national event camps is where you identify the best athletes in the country on various events, and then you bring them into a training environment, and then you work together as a team. Like, could be the breaststrokers, the backstrokers, middle distance free, sprint free, distance free, and you train together. You go to, like, that could be on the Gold Coast, and then you train together. You may be at separate venues, but there may be a few teams at a few different strokes at a number of different venues. But then you all stay in the same accommodation, and all the sports science support are there, and you congregate there as a team. And it's a great way to come together as a team, and also to share knowledge with coaches that have people on the teams. And they weren't held, I think, from 2008 through to just a few years ago. Yeah.
I like those too. I think they're a great idea.
Yeah, and I think Yakko may not have really understood the concept, but he held them for the first time 2 years ago, and then realized that this is a very good concept. And obviously Yakko did a great job, but his styles was a little bit different from what Australia was used to previously. And obviously it needs to be different, because we're not living in the 90s now, and the style needs to be different. But no, he did a good job, and it was just a slightly different style, but very knowledgeable guy. And I feel that what he did, he actually at the major meet, although you may want better, you always want better, but I think he gave the athletes sort of inner self-confidence, and the coaches. There wasn't that intensity and pressure at the major meets that could have been caused in previous years gone by. Some people would say that's what's required. Other people would say, no, this is great. So it's just a matter of getting the right balance.
Well, it seems to me like there's a slight resurgence within Australian swimming again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've just had the national age groups and the National Open Championships. The age groups was great. Like, I was really impressed with the way people performed, and technically as well too. I can see an improvement in that particular area. And once again, there's great camaraderie. And also with Rowan Taylor now involved. Rowan understands swimming in Australia from learn to swim to high performance. And Rowan may well be able to, from the ground up, have a groundswell of support from the whole nation.
Yeah.
And although his key role is to focus on the high performance, he's very good at getting round and generating the enthusiasm from the ground up.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
which he understands very, very well indeed.
Do you think do you have a desire to get back to the national level again?
No, and I feel that I've been there and I've done that. I don't actually miss it. I don't actually miss traveling the world.
Yeah.
All right. And I really I live in Brisbane, and I can go hour and a half north, hour and a half south, and I'm at the best beaches that you're likely to see, and the water, you can still swim in it without a wetsuit.
Yeah.
You know, so at one time in my life, I thought I might live in California, but I found Australia, and I feel Australia suits me very well indeed. And particularly living in Brisbane, I feel it's like a hub for swimming in Australia, and obviously Queensland itself is great.
What do you think makes a great coach? Tell me that. You've observed some really good coaches over the time. What are some of the attributes that make a great coach?
I think you've got to be a great communicator, really.
Yeah.
And I think I feel that the force of a coach's personality is really, really important. And every time I go in and observe people coaching, they want to tell you what they're doing in the water. In the end, I feel that I'm not actually too worried about that, because I feel that the communication and the relationship that you actually form with the athlete and the psychology component of it is probably more important. And every individual is different. Obviously, the coach has to be highly motivated and self-driven, and can go on and with all those superlatives and stuff like that. But I think communication is key, really, and to get the athletes to believe in you. What you're telling them and advising them to do, they really have that self-belief in you. And plus they got to enjoy turning up to see you every single day as well. And so it just needs to be enjoyable. You need to make it enjoyable and fun. Now fun like, I don't mean ha 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 ha, I mean, you need that. But I always found with my athletes, I felt it was best when I was lighthearted, as opposed to too serious. And if you're not careful, you can become too intense, particularly when you're working with elite swimmers and small groups, because you focus on every little detail. Then sometimes you have to let things go, otherwise a coach can become too intense. But I think the swimmers that I had, they liked me because of who I am. I made them laugh occasionally, and they enjoyed that, and they enjoyed the lightness, and the humor that goes with that as well. And obviously you challenge them too. I always used to tell my swimmers, "Oh, don't worry, it's another easy session. Don't worry, it's just an easy session." Of course, they get out. I thought you said it was going to I said it was an easy session, but obviously you challenge them in different ways, and that's
yeah. Well, let's finish with a story, man. You got any classic stories you can share with us from your time?
Let's have a look. I think some videos you sent of us when we were at the 2001 World Championships, they were actually very, very funny.
Yeah.
And on the bus where we all dressed up in the flowery shirts and that.
It was good camaraderie back then, eh?
Yeah, but there still is, you know,
Yeah.
when you're on the team, you can see, you know, like you can go on the, when you're on the national team, there's always good camaraderie.
Yeah.
I don't see that that's changed one iota.
Yeah.
You know, you still have that. They're a very extremely tightly knit group, you know. And for funny stories, I've got lots of them, but yeah, perhaps can't tell them, you know.
What have you found about
it's
Australians?
not appropriate to tell them, you know.
Yeah, don't tell the appropriate,
No.
ones. But what have you found about Australians then? I mean, you see the way they compete against the US. I mean, you're originally from England. What is it about the Australian culture?
Okay, when I came over from Britain, I felt Australia want to win. They're extremely competitive nation, particularly when it comes to sport, and that would be in business as well. And they want to win. You know that if you're going to go up against an Australian, they're going to be fit, and they're going to be tough, and they're going to challenge you no matter what. You had Laurie Lawrence on the other day, and I scanned through that and had a look, and you just know from him, there's an Aussie for you. Yeah. All right. And what I observed when I came from Britain is that Australia has a winning mentality. Britain is doing very well at the moment. Their Olympic trials are very, very good. And particularly their men's 4x2 and Adam Peaty and a whole range of other swims as well. And that's taken a long time to change. Whereas when I was swimming, I didn't have that self-belief. Now I've been in Australia for a long time. I have a lot of self-belief. Obviously, I'm a lot wiser and a lot more wisdom now at my age, but being involved in this system, then I believe in swimming Australia, and I believe that they want to be the best in the world, you know, and Don was always drumming it, Don Talbot. Want to be number one in the world, and when you get everybody believing that, then he finally achieved it. Sometimes these days it's, let's not put too much pressure on about trying to be number one in the world. America's a big nation, and I feel that unless we start believing that we can, you know, we may not have as big a population, but at the same time, we can identify the athletes and ensure that we do a great job with those athletes so that we can challenge the US, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing, mate. Belief is contagious. And I think that's what Don tried to instill, that belief in all of us.
He did. Sure. And he did. Yeah. Did a great job. Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on today, sharing your wisdom, mate, and sharing your story. Good to catch up with you again.
And you, keep up the great job you're doing.
You like this?
Aren't you involved in development as well? Are you involved? Is it Fitter and Faster?
Yeah.
You're involved?
Yeah, I do Fitter and Faster clinics. So we do somewhere around 250 to 300 clinics around America each year. So we're doing a ton of work, and then I, you know, doing this as a hobby, but I feel like this is a masterclass as well, getting guys on like you to share your experiences. Yeah. There hasn't been a lot of that, and so I'm happy to do this.
No, you're doing a great job. All right. And I do follow it and see what you're doing and stuff like that. So keep up the great job that you're doing. And Cody went all right.
Yeah. Cody's all right. He's doing all right.
Yeah, he had a good hit out, got rid of the cobwebs, hadn't been in the water for a few weeks. So we'll see how things develop.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to stop being a pop star to come be a swimmer, but you know.
Well, that's what he, you know, it's keep himself fit and healthy on the straight and narrow. Who knows?
No, he loves it. But
good luck to him, eh? I'm sure he enjoys it anyways, and that's the main thing. That's why we all did it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so we're just lucky to be involved with it. So.
Yeah. All right, Baz. Appreciate it, mate.
You take care. Good to talk to you.
See you, mate.
Look after yourself. Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Thank you. Bye-bye.